Alright people, it's Steel Gamer here, and basically another quick division video where I'm not going to like harp on this for too long, but basically it's, I got one viewer came in and asked me, are you sure now do you like the division? I says no, the game is still broken, it's still a ton of unexplained aspects that literally are needed in order to implement them into the game to have an understanding on how the game is, and case in point. First thing, still no explanation as to what this is, why it's here, or what you're supposed to be doing with it. Is this part of a mission or anything else? It's just some random thing on the ground that doesn't explain jack about it. Next, I'm going to go into this one mission here, quest, whatever you want to call it, is return to the Times Square safe house.
Agent, I look at what you've done here. And I say to myself, we are alive, we continue, we persist. Oh,
which I can fast travel to, so I'm going to fast travel to it. And I'm going to go in there and, I'm going to explain it as it's going along. Okay, so right in front of me is where this return to the Times Square safe house is supposed to be turned in. I'm inside the safe house.
See what you've been missing.
It's actually behind the desk. I can't get to it because you can't climb the desk. I'm literally I'm like 2 meters from it. I can't get behind the desk. So the fact that you can't turn these things in, despite it saying it is, and despite I'm right in the area, proves that the entire system for turning in quest or missions really needs a total overhaul. I don't care if people know how to do that. There'd be no way for you to do that because you can't get behind the desk and there's no explanation as to actually how to turn the damn quest in or mission or whatever you want to call it. Because if I go up here, I'm not only in the safe house, but going to this point should instantly be able to turn it in or finish it or whatever you want to call it. So that's another problem with this. And so, that's why I tell people, no, I'm not. This game is still friggin' stupid. It's so horribly and piss poorly put together. It's ridiculous. Turning in a mission should not be this complex. I should be able to go there, and it should be finished. The fact that there's some super secretive way to turn that thing in means that there needs to be an entire in-depth tutorial on how to actually turn quest in, which should never be that should never have an issue in a game. The fact that you can't even turn this thing in is ridiculous. He has something for me. You can't talk to the guy. You can't go behind the desk, and yet it wants you to turn it in, which is sitting behind the desk, the table or whatever it is. So that's just absolutely ridiculous, and that doesn't belong in there. Let me see if I can find something else here. Something to do with, I can't remember, I can't actually find the other one, but it has to do with,
Is this what I think it is? Slider, we just hit pay dirt,
I have no idea. It has to do with finding somebody for something on the medical wing or whatever that means or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I can't find anybody on the medical wing or something like that. I think this might be it here. I'm not sure. Let me fast travel to the safe house. Let me find it. Like I said, I can't quite remember where it was. Otherwise, I would just go out and do it. So. Okay.
Agent, I need you to take care of a problem.
How do you get out of here?
Last man battalion.
Warning. We're exiting the safe area.
I'm not sure exactly where I need to go here. But there was something to do with something on getting somebody from a side wing or some person I had to get. The missions are not clear at all about what has to be done with these. Like, I have no idea why these things are even different colors. Why are these green and these blue? Why is this orange? It's... Yet, all of the apparently mission parameters, or whatever it is, the objectives, are somehow all orange. Yet they have different colors on here and never explain to you what these different colors mean or do. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to even be doing with this. But apparently, there's some side mission. I can't figure this out. No idea where it is. Phone recording. Doesn't mean a phone recording. Glad it told me about phone recordings. Yeah. I have no idea. I can't find this thing.
Shit. Is this what I think it is? Slider, we just hit pay dirt, man. This gun's a...
Those drops I told you about are still happening in the Dark Zone, but we've got a very unfortunate new wrinkle. Some Rikers found an LMB surface to air site, and they've got some ex-military in their mix. That means they could shoot down the choppers and get into the supplies. We've got top-of-the-line division gear in those drops. We cannot have the Rikers getting their hands on any of it. We have to shut this down ASAP. I've got some intel that says this op is led by one of Barrett's lieutenants, a convict named J.T. Falk, nicknamed Slider. Good luck with this one, Agent. You're gonna goddamn well need it.
No idea what was just said there. No clue. No clue to what any of that shit means. I cannot find the friggin' one thing that I'm looking for. That makes no sense. I have no idea what that is, why it's on the ground, what it's doing there, what it represents. Does it have to do anything with anything? If so, what? Okay, I have no idea. Actually, this is something similar to what I was originally going to show. This has no explanation to what it is, what its purpose is, what its function, why it's in the game, or anything else like that. Figured a little information on what the hell is going on here would actually be helpful, but no, of course not. The game developers can't include any of that stuff, because I guess apparently they expect you to be psychic. And I don't care what anybody says. Nobody's going to come up to me and tell me that that is self-explanatory. Okay? It's impossible to know what the hell any of this stuff means. Okay? The game never actually went over what anything on this screen means. Quick matchmake doesn't tell you what that means. Matchmaking doesn't really, that's kind of like self-explanatory, but that doesn't really make any sense why matchmaking is here when it's inside the safe house or whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah? Prove it. Prove it. Where does it, where? Okay. Let me just put this out for you. What you're saying is total BS. I don't care. That's not relevant. Before you even bring up, I need to be level 30, prove it. Where on this screen is there any possible way to know that? On top of that, where did you even get that information? And secondly, there are 5 tiers of what? I don't care. Unless you go back up and start from the very beginning, going over everything on this screen, the interface, what all of these options mean, what you're saying is total crap, dude. You can't say, oh, here's 6, and then expect somebody to know what the hell 6 means, unless you're willing to break down and that on all the information that led up to what the hell you're saying. What you're saying means absolutely nothing. That information may be good for you, but that tells me absolutely nothing. All you've done is basically said, blah, 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 level 30. It doesn't state you need to be level 30. I don't know where you got that information. It's not on that screen, and there's no way that anybody would ever know that. So it doesn't matter if you know it. It matters, is it in the game and explained? Because if it's not, there's no way to know what the hell that is. That what is on the screen and what you said are just total crap. It doesn't make any sense. If I need to be level 30 and I'm not, it should tell me right then and there. It shouldn't even bring up a screen. It should say you need to be. It should pop up a freaking message on the screen saying you need to be level 30. Then you could say that. I wouldn't have to ask that. It would say, you know, whatever. But it doesn't tell you that, so I don't know where you even got that information from or why you're even saying that, or how you would even know that. Okay, I don't know what that means, that pay and spray thing. I don't know what that means, what they just frickin' said. What's unlocked? What does that mean, unlocked? What? I don't understand what any of this stuff means. They're throwing shit on the screen and have no explanation for it. I mean, friggin' hell, I was friggin' going over everything on this game that it doesn't even explain to you how to. It doesn't even explain to you when you have multiple weapons, and if so, how to mod them already. The game goes over nothing, dude. It just throws you in and says, "Yeah." It's like giving somebody an advanced calculus question that doesn't know anything about math, and then saying, "Here, solve it."
Agent, we have a supply drop endangered. Sending you the coordinates.
This is another thing that pisses me off. All of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, I will get just random crap. I thought the only way you could actually get a quest to show up on mission is to actually go into the damn map and actually select it. And besides, I have one that's already selected, so I shouldn't even been able to get this one. This one should never have shown up. So that proves that the mission system is broken in this.
Incoming hostiles.
What the hell are they up to down there? Gonna fucking take this city. Get off my turf!
supplies taking fire.
Not even breaking the square here. Cover me.
I have no idea what it's talking about. The supplies are taking fire. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know where they are. I have no idea what that means.
Might as well give up now.
Well, why is it allowing, if it's level 30 and they're allowing me to see it, that's piss poor game design, because that's basically, it doesn't tell you that you need to be level 30. So again, see, the thing with my streams is, and please don't take this the wrong way, but if you say something, I'm gonna call you out and ask you that there's no way you could know that. If it doesn't tell you on the, if it doesn't tell you the information that, all right, let me back up. In a stream, if a viewer is gonna tell me information, I'm gonna call them out and ask them where that information existed, because there's no way you could know anything you said with the information on the screen at all, anywhere. So the fact that you said it doesn't matter. It's what you're saying is nonsense, because I get what you're saying, but there's no way for a player to know that. There's no way you would have known that. Right, but the thing here is, so you buy a game. Let me get this straight. You buy a game to have to look up certain things that should never have to have been looked up. The mapping system on this game is total garbage. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I wasn't.
Supplies destroyed.
Yeah, and the supplies are destroyed. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, okay. Who cares? The supplies are destroyed. And well, I was never told I had to protect them. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You can't throw shit at people and then expect to be. You have to be psychic to play games, I guess. Apparently. I have no idea what, you know, if it's gonna throw a quest at you or a mission when it's like that, it should pop up and says, do you want to accept this now? And you should say yes. At least have some organization on what the hell it's doing. The map is a mess. It's almost next to impossible to know where anything is. You have to go around like 100 meters to go one block over, and it doesn't give you any indication on like how to know where you are. It's ridiculous. The map system in this is an absolute ridiculous mess. It's really piss poorly put together. How am I supposed to know what weapon I'm using? The game doesn't say this weapon is this name, at least that I can find. If it is, well, let me back that up. If the game's gonna say, well, if weapons don't mean anything in this game as far as name-wise. You put something in a gun and it shoot it, period. You don't need to know the name of a weapon to do something. The stats aren't even explained, so there's no way to know how to know if the weapon you're even using is even good. This game is put together so badly, it's ridiculous. And anybody that's watched my streams knows how I ripped it apart. And this is just another one of these things where, you know, I don't even know. Well, I know the name doesn't, but what I'm saying is I'm just pointing it out. If somebody, my point is, this shouldn't be, like, if somebody asks me what weapon I'm using, I should be able to, like, open some, whatever it is, and know. I should be able, in other words, I should be able to answer you without any type of issues. And so the fact of the matter is, I can't open my screen. I have no idea how to know what weapon I'm using. I have no idea. Like, this doesn't tell you what weapon you're using, at least that I can find. So my point is that if you ask me a question, it shouldn't be this much of a problem to answer you. But the fact of the matter is, they put this game together so sloppily that only hardcore, like, if you have you ever played Diablo 3? Well, anyway, let me just sum this up. Even if you played Diablo 3, if you never are familiarize yourself with some of the other characters, right? So here, all right, actually, that's a really good example. Playing the game gets you used to the game, but the fact of the matter is, until you get used to the game and play it, you have no idea what these skills do. This game has always been broken, dude. I've had this game since it was released. I literally recently just installed it again to do a couple of videos on a couple of things, because I see patches go by and everything else, and that's why I don't ever really play a game when it first comes out, because there's patches that fix broken elements in the games. Oh, it's always been. No. Here's the thing. The game has always been bad. It's just you're seeing how bad it is now. Let me give you an example that this game, like what I'm gonna show you has never been changed. Like, meaning there's been no patches with it or anything, all right? So let me finish this up, and I'll give you a prime example of, like, from day one, this game is just still bad. Alright, so let me show you just how freaking screwed up this game is. Let me show you a basic element in this game that never has been explained. Check this out.
Agent, I look at what you've done here, and I say to myself, we are alive, we continue, we persist. Oh, I do have a thing for you back here. It's up to you to decide its worth.
Okay, ready for this? This is to go turn this in. I'm gonna go turn this in. Watch.
Yo, check this out.
You are now entering a safe area.
Okay, return to the Times Square safe house. I have returned to the Times Square safe house. I am now in it. That turn-in mission is behind him, on the floor. That's exactly where that is. I am 5 meters from it, 4 meters, 3 meters. I am 1 meter from it. I can't climb this table to turn it in, and you can't talk to this guy to turn it in. Meaning, the quest system for turning this in is broken. It has no explanation on, this should not be a chore. I should be able to go up to it. It should be done. The fact that it's not proves that that even turning in quests or missions is a major chore in this game, which it shouldn't be. In other words, they're literally this. In order for somebody to like play this game and know what the hell's going on, you even need a damn tutorial on how to turn these friggin' quests in. That's how bad this game is. How do you? It wants me to come back here. I am back here. Now I go over to the space. You can't talk to the guy. I don't know who the hell said that over the radio. And then on top of that, I can't get behind the friggin' thing to stand on the spot to turn it in or whatever needs to be done. So, an entire tutorial on how to turn quests in or missions is required here, and that shows you how bad the game is. Why am I struggling to turn a friggin' mission in? Without any explanation. It doesn't even tell me why I can't turn it in. Nothing on the screen at all pops up that says, hey, you need to go over here and do this. It doesn't tell you if there's a prerequisite to turn it in. And if there is, it shouldn't even be telling me to return here in the first place. So this whole system is really retarded.
Warning. You are now leaving the safe area.
I had a friend of mine ask me, do you like doing this to games and punishing yourself? He says, I'm not punishing myself. I fucking love this. I love when there's so much crap inside the game that it can't be played, that the average, that it winds up, I don't want to say I'm loving debates, but I love when I actually go out of my way and show that there's something wrong with a game that an entire community loves that thinks there's nothing wrong with it just because they can play it. That's like saying math, that's like saying a physics teacher in college says there's no, math is not a problem just because he can do it. Math has a bunch of contradictions in it, and without explaining why the contradictions are there, math can't be done. A lot of people can't do math. And so that's a problem. So saying math is easy once you understand the concepts doesn't matter unless you explain all the concepts and how they work, or what makes, whatever. Because if you say, for example, if you say math is an absolute, and that 1 + 1, yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. The stuff that I'm talking about is not something anybody's ever done.
Communications are being disrupted, and we need someone to reconnect the things which are being disconnected.
This is why nobody will ever be able to copy my channel. Nobody will ever be able to replicate anything that I'm doing. And even if you did complain about an instruction not being there, you won't be able to do it in the same fashion I'm doing it. That's why my channel is unique. This is what my channel does. And so the thing here is that when people try to debate with me, I pull these ridiculous concepts out. Well, they're not ridiculous. I pull these comparisons out within the game itself that people try to argue with, and it's absolutely astonishing how dumb people get when it comes to this. With what game? No, not at all. And even if I did, it wouldn't matter anyway. Because if you're not familiar with how the game works, watching a stream on the builds isn't going to matter. It's not going to help you out at all. Because when somebody talks about a build, all right, they're going from a viewpoint with information that is absent from the video because they already know how to do it, which makes it impossible for anybody that isn't familiar with the game to know what the hell they're talking about. You can sit and say, well, this skill's this, this, and this. None of that matters because there's no way anybody would know why that skill is even being used. If you're going to tell somebody to use a skill, or you're going to go over what a good skill would be, you need to give either a verbal example or an example in the game showing the skill being used so somebody can see what you're talking about. If somebody says, well, that's too much work, then they shouldn't be making the video because you can't go around saying, well, this skill's good, and then when somebody asks you why, just say, oh, just because it's good. That's what you wind up with. You wind up going in circles with these people. Right, it doesn't. That's not going to help you. See, here's the thing: when power leveling is a problem in games in general, and it's the same thing with Diablo 3. In Diablo 3, okay, I'll use that as an example because it's kind of covering what you're talking about. That's all right. So, for example, let me start off by saying the reason that that the videos going over the builds are useless is simply because they're only for somebody level 30 and above that already knows the entire structure of the game and what's going on. That's not going to help somebody who's not level 30, who's trying to get up to level 30, because that's not going to do you any friggin' good. And so when you're dealing with Diablo 3, all right, when you're dealing with Diablo 3, for example, the information that you get for builds is not going to help you unless you know what the function of the skill is for. And if you're not familiar with the wording that the game is using with that skill, saying, well, it's good for, you know, doing a flip 360 move, what the fuck does that even mean? You can't say, well, I told you what it means just because you said, you know, it tells you to do a 360 flip move. No, you didn't explain it. You said what it does, but you never actually connected the two together. So before anybody even starts going over builds, they need to go over the lingo that they're using first. Say, hey, here's the lingo I'm gonna be using throughout this video. So when you hear it, you'll know what it means. Because if you start talking about something, all of a sudden you use lingo in the game that they've never even heard of, and the first time you say it, you've just lost them. Because now they're concentrated on what the hell that word even means compared to over the build. So it wouldn't matter what you did. You have to explain everything in the game. People are like, well, it's just, you shouldn't have to do that. Yes, actually you should, because if you're going to make a how-to video, all of that is included in the how-to. Or, if you're going to state in these videos about level 30 or whatever it is, say, this information is only relevant to level 30, and if you've already understood the game. If you don't understand the game, this video will make no sense. At least come out and say it. Otherwise, when anybody watching it and you're stating it, you're giving off a false impression that by watching that video, even people who have no idea what this game is about, and you sit down in front of them and tell them that, they're going to have any idea what the hell you're even talking about. So that's the problem with, that's the problem with videos in general when they tell you, oh, I'm going to go over this build. They actually don't go over the build. They make the video with their own information, which does absolutely nothing for somebody who has no idea what the hell they're talking about. Playing what? How long have I been playing, what example? You can't really classify what I'm doing as playing. So let me clear up something if you haven't never been in any one of my streams. Unless all the information is presented to the player that explains what everything is on a basic baseline the first time you encounter it, such as the map's a mess, it doesn't explain to you how to navigate through it, so there's no explanation on that. So trying to find things is retarded in this. It's absolutely a chore, and it shouldn't be. You can't turn in quests in this game, or some quests can't be turned in. I just did an example of that where turning missions in are a chore. So my point is, to answer your question, you can't classify what I'm doing as playing. Playing would entail that I have all the information that allows me to be able to make the decisions without having to go outside the game to get information that may or may not even be correct or may not be fully explained, so I have any idea what I'm even listening to or reading or whatever it is, any videos. So I don't really know what you mean by generically playing. I'm running around shooting at things that... The only thing that I understand in this is running around shooting stuff, and up until recently in one of my streams did somebody finally go over and somebody came in the game and says, hey, here's how to know if you have two weapons, go into here and check this out, which is something the game didn't do. Somebody shouldn't have to explain it. Those basic concepts should be inside the game. And people trying to say, well, you should just know that is a complete line of BS. And honestly, people need to be smashed in the head. Don't go doing that, but people need to be smashed in the head for even saying something like that. That is absolutely ridiculous to state that about a game. Somebody should just know? No. Somebody should look at something and guess? No. You have basic concepts, the game should explain it, period. That's all there is to it. In one of my earlier videos, I went over and showed that in one of the games, the restock box isn't even explained. Why I can't even open a restock box. It tells me I'm full, but yet I'm not full. So there's no explanation about that. It doesn't even go over. It should tell you whether restock boxes restock certain things or anything else like that. I think Brink actually did that. No. You know what it is? What the hell's the name of the game? I can't remember the name of the game. Oh, what is the name of that game? I have it too. Basically, there was a game, and it's Mass Effect Andromeda. Oh my God, I can't even think of this. Mass Effect Andromeda literally quite didn't go over it, but the multiplayer aspects. It even shows the icons over the ammo box to what it reloads. But that doesn't stop you from opening the box. Alright, that's a loaded question. Okay, now let me clarify something. Swapping weapons is a basic mechanic. It doesn't tell you, it tells you how to do that. But when it tells you how to swap weapons, alright, prime example, modding weapons doesn't tell you how to mod weapons. It tells you what to do to get to it, but it doesn't tell you how these screens operate. It doesn't matter whether anybody knows. The game tells you how to get to these screens, and then it doesn't explain how the screens operate. So, for example, there's no possible way anybody can know that there's sub-menus off of these, because if you only have like 3 slots on a weapon, and then you pick up 12 weapons, the person has no idea where those 12 weapons went. Or even if they pick them up, because if they assume that they have them, and they open this screen without being told how to access those 12 weapons from this screen, is a problem. It's a basic mechanic that should still be explained. So that way when somebody says, hey, go in here and do this, you'll know enough. You shouldn't have to come to these screens and look at it like, what am I looking at? You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. So the very first time you encounter a basic game mechanic, okay, it needs to be explained. Like I got into if you go back and watch one of the videos that I did, I've gotten into a debate. I don't want to say a debate, but it was basically, I sat there for almost an hour going back and forth with the chat and somebody in the game about what the hell an echo is. The game never explained what an echo is. Right, but here's the thing. You shouldn't, Harold's right, but you shouldn't have to guess that. You're playing a game. This is not schoolwork, and games should not be to the point where you have to stop what you're doing to leave the game to get basic information about what is supposed to be explained in the game. At least have a damn tutorial off of the main menu. These tips and pop-ups are all over the place. They're not even in the correct sequence. Like, for example, you'll get something, you'll get a thing on the screen that says B, hop over, and then after you hop over it, you then get a message saying, by the way, you can press B to hop over things. It's not even put together correctly. Yeah, but example, the thing that I'm getting at is, why should I have to go through that? Why should I have to play the game for 25 hours to get basic concepts and basic things that are supposed to be explained within the first 10 minutes with a very simplified explanation? That doesn't teach you the game. All that does is piss people off and makes them turn away from it. And whether or not somebody plays an MMO or a shooter or an online game is not even relevant. That's not even a valid counter-argument or counter-statement to this. It's not. It doesn't matter whether anybody's played a game. Whether or not anybody has even seen a game doesn't matter. When somebody picks that up, anybody, they should be able to pick it up, learn the basics on it, and then take it from there. There's no learning curve in this game at all.
Best prices, best gear.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't actually explain anything. It doesn't explain anything at all, because when you're all right, for example, when you go at the very beginning and it tells you to switch weapons, okay? First of all, it never actually even tells you to switch the weapons. It just says switching weapons between your primary and your sidearm. you press Y and then you double tap Y. I'm using a wired 360 controller, so I don't know what the what it would be on the the keyboard or anything else. But for the 360 controller, it just says to swap between them, press Y once or double tap Y. That's it. That's all it says. It never even tells you to do that. It never tells you you have multiple weapons. It doesn't tell you any of that stuff. If you have multiple weapons at that point, it should say, hey, swap to your sidearm now. You change whatever gun you have to your sidearm by doing this. Now not only have you covered how to change weapons, but you've also told the player that they have multiple weapons. I played this game for like 14 hours and never knew I had a secondary weapon. I was using a pistol. People came in and said, why are you only using a pistol? I said, what do you mean? I was never given another gun. They go, how do you not know that? I says, because the game never said that. And they got into this whole debate with me, and then I went back and I showed them. I said, show me where it says this. I literally went to the point in the game where I had a bunch of people in my chat and my viewers saying, hey, the game tells you to do that. I says, okay. I went back. I went through, created a new character, and I got to the exact point. I says, here's the instruction you're talking about. First of all, it never says to do it. And secondly, it never says you even have two weapons. And third, it never says shoot, whatever with an automatic. It doesn't. So the whole point is that that's a basic baseline that it should be telling you. It says, all right,
Warning. Now we're exiting the safe area.
you have two weapons, swap between them. This is your sidearm, this is your not. That would at least clarify that would at least tell you. And when you're being told to like mod a weapon, don't tell the player, hey, press this button, open this screen and go to this tab, and then the button, whatever, keybind functions on that tab, and then when you open the screen there's nothing explaining anything. They've already did the first 3 steps. Finish it. Otherwise, don't even put the first 3 steps in there. Well, now here's the thing. On that end of it example,
Now
you're right
entering the
about that.
safe
Now,
area.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I am in agreement that if people don't want the instructions, that shouldn't be forced on them either. But that doesn't make it okay to make the instructions exempt from the game either. So there's a fine line of where do you put it. Don't remove it from the game, just don't put it over where people don't want it. And so don't put the instructions over the game. Have it off of the main
Warning.
menu.
Now leaving the safe area.
Now both people win. So I don't find that fun. I've literally gotten so disgusted with games that can't even explain basic mechanics that I just stopped playing them. I uninstalled them and never installed them again. I don't even bother with them anymore. The only time, I shouldn't say that, the only time I actually play it again is to make a video just to really whip the piss out of it. This is one main reason you'll never see a Dark Souls video on my channel. You will never see me post a Dark Souls video on how bad that game is. The reason why is because that game isn't supposed to be explained. Nothing in that game is supposed to be explained at all. They didn't even explain to you how to do map navigation. So, for example, if I open the map, I have no idea why. Whether or not it's important or not doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is they're drawing your attention. These are green, that's blue, that's orange. What do these colors even mean? Why are some of these blue and some of them green? You can't say encounters are blue because encounters are green too. So there's no valid reason for them to be different colors. And if there is, the game never explained what the differences between them are. And whether or not that's not important doesn't matter. The fact that they're bringing your attention to it and then not doing anything about it is the point. So you can't throw this crap together and then not explain it. If it's not going to be explained, have them all the same color. Because you can't say, well, this encounter was blue because of this. Well, encounters are blue. Well, no, I can say encounters are green and orange too. It doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You're saying information that doesn't exist here. So my point is, you can't... without being rude, I'm not going to allow you to use those statements on this map. And the reason why it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with that information you're presenting does not exist here. So, without having played the game, you never would have known that, so you can't say that where I'm pointing it out. You wouldn't have the knowledge to say that. That's my point. So you're taking after the fact knowledge that you already have and then applying it here where it doesn't actually apply. I don't want to say it doesn't apply, but I think you understand my point that if that were the case, they should have explained it the very first time that they opened up the map. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter, example. That is not a valid counter argument. You're basically saying somebody that doesn't know math should be able to look at a math problem and be able to solve it without having any basic concepts, and if they don't, that's their fault. No, that's the same exact thing. You cannot blame a player for asking questions that the game developer is supposed to explain to you. This is on the game developer, not a player. I shouldn't have to look at that and go, I wonder what that means. Well, if I do this over here and bring... No, wrong. None of that. That isn't even a valid counter argument. That's not even a valid statement. It doesn't matter whether somebody can look at it and guess. That's not what a game is designed for. It's not this... Going through this much of a problem on a map screen is a problem. This is a big problem, and why it's like... This is not a game. If you're not even if they can't even explain it, encounters should not be on the map until they're explained. Period. They should go over, hey, here's the type of things in this game, or the mission types, or whatever. They need to go over how the missions are put together. Then they need to go over why they're color-coded, okay? So that way, when somebody comes up to, I shouldn't ask why these are green or blue. I shouldn't even have to ask that. That should have already been told to me. And I should never have to leave a game. I shouldn't have to leave the game to go find out a video either. Except example, nowhere does it tell you anything about the base of operations. It doesn't tell you anything about it. It doesn't tell you how to be. All right, now let me back up because now I'm gonna bring something up that I was discussing with Harold. Everything you just said is gibberish, because you started off by saying that, when in reality you can't say that. You need to go over all of the little details, including mission selecting and everything else that leads up to that. You just threw that out there and expected somebody to know. Wrong. There is at least 25 things prior to that. If you were to type that sentence to somebody that doesn't know this game, they would have no clue to what the hell you're talking about, because you skipped all of the basic information that led up to that. So before you even bring up the base of operations, the first thing you have to explain to the player is how the interface works, what the icons are, how to locate the icons and bring them up so you know. You missed all of that information, and that is why that comment you just said, that whole paragraph you just said, is not even valid. It's gibberish. It means nothing, because it doesn't explain anything. You can't tell somebody, well, the base of operations says this. If you fail to none of that matters, because guess what? The icons on the map are still not explained. There's no explanation why they're color-coded. The mission selecting and everything else on how to navigate through the map is missing. All of the basic principles that lead up to what you're saying don't exist, which makes what you're saying pointless. There's no reason for you to tell anybody that information if you can't tell all the information that even leads up to that. And here's the thing. You can't skip any basic information leading up to that. The instant you skip a single thing on that, no matter how minute you think it is, then you've already lost the person. You can't do that.
We're getting overrun. They're killing everyone in sight. Damn it, if they blow open the floodgates, then... Captain, they've got to... Ah!
I still have no idea what this base of operations is for. I have a safe house. I have no idea why is there even a base of operations in this game? What is the purpose of it? It doesn't even tell you why you're even doing this. It just says establish the base of operations. For what? Great. It's a mission. Am I going to get quests? Yeah, great. And I thought a safe house was a base of operations. That doesn't even make any sense why they have safe houses and then tell you to do a base of operations. Isn't your safe house the base of operations? It doesn't make any friggin' sense what the hell base of operations even means. Really? I can't walk through that? That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't even know why that's in the game. Yeah, but what does that mean? You just keep repeating that. Repeating it 100 times isn't going to change anything. What? Why is a base of operations in the game? What is it? Well, I can say that's my safe house. Then I can just say that's my safe house because that's the same argument.
One of our scouts located a stronghold at the storage yard on West.
You haven't.
They need backup.
The game has not explained what the base of operations is for. Why it's in the game. Don't. All I know is that it's a random building. So is my safe house. It literally has no point as far as I'm concerned because if a base of operations was something important, then that's something that should have been gone over in detail explaining why it's in the game, why you have to go do it, or anything else. Other than that, it's just there. Because here's the thing. It doesn't matter. You're using irrelevant comments example. The fact of the matter is, everything you're talking about doesn't matter. It's not relevant. Because here's the thing. I can open up the map and get any mission from here. And I don't need the base of operations to do it. As far as I'm concerned, the map is my base of operations. You can't say the base of operations for getting missions. I don't need it to get missions. I have them. So you keep saying base of operations. It's nothing you're saying is relevant because you haven't put up a valid reason on why somebody needs to know the base of operations. Well, without it, you're failing to understand example. Without explaining it, it has no... Let me put it to you this way. The base of operations is not important in this game. If it was that important, they would have explained it. I gotta get the call. I gotta get this call. Give me 1 second.
Just left us here to die. ready for someone to cross me.
It is what it is. It'll be okay. It'll be better than okay. You'll see. Just look at me.
Just taking what I can get.
We have 6 months to get ready. We don't need a hospital to have this baby.
Just ready for someone to cross me.
Don't be worried. I'll be fine, I promise. It's gonna be okay. We can do this. I know we can.
They really think they can get away with this?
It is what it is. It'll be okay. It'll be...
Alright, here I am. Well, like I said, okay, so the base of operations is obviously not that important. Something, if from what you're saying, it seems like it would have to be, it's something really important that needs to be, that's in the game. Well, you know, something that important should have been explained. And it wasn't. That's the whole point. The fact that you're actually defending this makes me question, like... Sorry, my cat's scratching on my couch. The fact that you're even defending it's not being explained, and then trying to use some lame-ass excuse about, well, you know, sorry, buddy, that's not my I don't know the base of operations because the game developers didn't explain it. It's not my job to guess. It's the game developers. They put it in the game. So how do you think it's okay for them to put something in a game and then not explain it, and then basically try to blame the player for not knowing what the game developers themselves didn't explain? How do you think that is even remotely okay to do?
Thanks for all your help, Division. We owe you.
So, like I said, in games, I don't know why anybody goes out of their way to just start scrolling around on screens. If the screens are not explained, then you just don't do them. I ignore anything in the game that's not explained, and then somebody's asking me, it's like, why are you having such a hard time playing it? I'm not having a hard time playing it. Well, you know, you didn't do this. I'm like, yeah, I didn't do that. Well, why not? Because it wasn't explained. It's not my job. It's not my job as a player to guess why there's a base of operations in the game. It's not my job as a player to actually start... I shouldn't have to ask what the point of the base of operations is. I shouldn't ask why it's in the game. I shouldn't be even asking any of these questions. The fact that I am means the game is shittily piss poor put together, and the developers don't know how to explain a damn thing. Thus, it's clearly not important. The base of operations is not that important. If it was, then why hasn't it been explained? Trying to say, well, you know, they guess or they assume, that's not an answer. The fact of the matter is, something of importance in a game requires it by the game developer to be explained. Yeah, why do you care? You're in a... Yeah, so if I'm ranting on a dead game, why are you in here watching it? I mean, you can't just accidentally just click on it. You know what I mean? Oh, it's not just this game, by the way, DB. It's, I'm going to abbreviate your name DB, because if your name says something, I don't know what it is. You're right, I am ranting on a dead game, but whether it's a dead game or not doesn't change the fact that it's shitty developed. And you think this is the only game I do this with? Wrong. Go look at my channel, it's filled with developer hate. I still have to remake a video about Mass Effect 2. That game's freaking long dead, too. So, it's not just with this game. It's with any game I encounter. I don't mess around on screens. Games are not schoolwork. And so basically, no, and that's the point, Dirty. Whether or not it comes... Alright. A game should not be... Alright, let me back this up. To give you an example of what Example was talking about. Example's trying to say games are schoolwork, and it's your responsibility as a player that if you don't know something to look it up. That is completely ridiculous to even come up with that comment. You're talking about something you purchased that the game developers made, and if you have to go around, you know, understanding gameplay basics because the game developers or whoever the hell is responsible for putting it in there, then it's a shitty piece put together game. Any gamer that actually defends that crap about a game developer not having to explain something and then uses the excuse of, well, they assume, or haven't you played other games, or any of these other stupid bullshit statements, that means the gamer has no idea on what is or is not important as far as something being explained. This is like saying you don't need training wheels on your bike to learn how to ride a bike, so nobody else does. You don't dictate for somebody what they need. And it doesn't matter whether you can look at something and figure it out. That's not even relevant. That's not a valid counter-argument. The fact that it's not explained is the only thing that matters. And the fact that you purchased a game from these developers, which is what their money is going to, if they can put all these mechanics in the game, it's inexcusable to not explain the mechanic, period. That's the point, everyone. Example. That is exactly the point. You can't use that as an excuse to justify the game not being explained. It doesn't matter. That is an irrelevant... You're right, it is, but that's not a valid... What is the point for you saying that? The fact that you're actually trying to say the game is not for everybody doesn't matter. That's your opinion. The fact the game isn't explained so everybody can't play it is the problem. The game... Why isn't this game for everybody? Why isn't this... That's like saying first-person shooters aren't for everybody. Whether a game is for somebody or not doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, you can't withhold information from a player and then have a player get turned off by this and then try to say, well, the game isn't for them. How do you know the game isn't for them? If you ever think about it on this end, if they had actually explained it properly, then maybe the game would have been for them. You can't use the game not being explained saying, you can't use the excuse of the game not being, oh, the game's not for everybody, as an excuse to justify shitty programming. You can't do that. It doesn't. The smaller details come from the larger details that are not explained, that come from playing. Without the baseline of coming from playing, it doesn't matter how many details are in the game. The big details that lead into that are the issue. Nobody's going to ask you, nobody's asking you what color looks good in the game, okay? Nobody's asking you what gun should I use. There's no way to explain that. That depends on the situation. Well, how do I know that? Well, that depends on you. That just comes from learning the game. Well, how do I know to use the gun? Well, you have to go back and use the tutorial. All right, what does the tutorial say? Does it say, okay, to equip this gun here? Here is how to read the gun stats. Nobody's saying explain every single mechanic. Nobody's telling that. That I agree with. So, trying to, like, okay. Here's an example. I'm going to go to my inventory. Regardless of whether anybody needs it or not, the screens on how to actually do things need an explanation. You still... What's funny is, Paula, you say you hate me and then you keep coming to my streams. Anyway. Okay, so case in point example. This screen has no explanation on how to use it or navigate through it. Whether you think it does or not isn't the issue. The fact that it doesn't is the point. So, if you pick up 12 guns, how is somebody... If somebody is not familiar with the game and somebody picks up 12 guns and they are and the game tells them step by step how to get to this screen, but then they know they have 12 guns, explain to me how the hell they would know where those guns are. There's only 3 of them on the screen, and yet they picked up 12. So you saying that it should be obvious isn't an answer. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, without explanation, how would somebody possibly know where those 12 guns went when only 3 of them are showing on the screen? Yeah, actually, example, they can make every single game like that. You're using an incorrect statement to try to justify shitty programming, and I can tell you point blank how to explain, how to take a simple sentence and explain the entire interface mechanic on every interface with one mechanic. Well, I can create a single sentence that explains how to use every interface in this off of one thing. So you saying they can't make games like that is false. They can. The point here is that, example, all right, click what? You're saying click. Again, you failed, because click what? You need to tell somebody what they need to click, and you need to tell them how to access it. Without saying that, you saying to click it is not even a valid counter-argument. You have nothing to say about this. Because what you're talking about is you're trying to go from step A to step C and skip B, and then say, well, B doesn't need to be needed. Wrong. You don't tell somebody how to access these screens and then no explanation on the screen. It doesn't work like that. No, wrong. Learn to read that unless it says press A to browse the backpack. What your comment is, your comment's invalid. Your comment is totally invalid, because that does, where does it say press A? Where does it actually say the word press A to open the backpack? Show me that sentence and then you can say that. So my point is that you're using invalid statements and half-assed sentences to try to justify and override what I'm talking about. The fact of the matter is, if you want somebody to press A on their backpack, you need to say, to open your backpack, press A, and that message needs to be a text message on the screen. Showing an A on the screen does not mean press it. Never has, never will. That is something you decided. I'm talking about what the game says, not what you as a player decided to choose to do. It doesn't matter. You're trying to get sidetracked. This is the point. You're trying to stay. A means press it. Nowhere in the game does A mean press it. Where are you getting that from? My question to you is, you are making something up and then adding it to the game without the game saying it, and then you're saying the game says it just because it's on the screen. Just because a button is flashing on the screen, that does not mean press it. It doesn't. You may think it means press it, but the difference that I'm talking about and the difference you're doing is you're just doing whatever the hell you feel like it and then saying the game said it because you did it. No, we're talking about what the game actually tells you to do. If you want somebody to browse a backpack, you need to tell... Oh, by the way, just so you know, this is your backpack. I am browsing it. What you see on the screen is my backpack. I can use that as a counter-argument. Doesn't matter, example. Doesn't matter. A million people all saying the same thing has no relevance to anything. It's not written on the screen, therefore it's not explained. You cannot keep saying a bunch of people already did it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It does. Okay, let me put it to you this way. I will cancel your whole entire argument with this one sentence. I'm going to give you an example on why what you're saying is incorrect. You take 50 gamers that have played any game, and you take 50 people that have never even seen a game. Put a flashing icon on the screen without any text message. The gamers will click it, the other 50 people won't. Do you know why the other 50 people won't? Because nothing told them to click it. The gamers will say exactly what you're saying. Well, why didn't you click it? The other people will say because there's nothing on the screen that says to click it. Where did you get the information that means to click it? You will turn around and say, well, that means click it. No, wrong. Unless you put it on the screen, unless you get all 100 people doing it, you have a half-assed statement that means nothing. The only way to get 100 people to click on it is to put a text message on the screen that says, click this flashing icon. That whole thing just canceled out any argument you just said. In order for everybody to do it, in order for it to be explained, every single person has to do it. If every single person isn't doing it, it's not explained. Doesn't matter how well you think it is or what you choose to do or if a million people do it. A million people all doing the same thing doesn't matter. It's not explained, and that's all it comes back to. It has to, if you want somebody to open the backpack, if you want every single person looking at this to open their backpack, it must say on the screen, press A to open your backpack. It has to have that exact wording on the screen. Otherwise, a button on the screen does not mean anything. You can say it does all you want. I can sit and say it doesn't mean a thing at all. The fact of the matter is, you cannot use just because you did it or it's on the screen to say that's what it means. Because it doesn't mean that. That is a visual cue that doesn't, not every, since everybody doesn't learn visually, it only means that to the people who visually see it. Doesn't matter. You're using visual clues. It's not written on the screen. Nothing you're saying matters. The bottom line comes down to this. It is not explained with text instructions, period. You can sit and argue that point all you want. Just because you did it doesn't mean it's explained. Just because a million people did it doesn't mean it's explained. All that means is a bunch of you just decided to go ahead and press a button on a screen for absolutely no reason at all. There is literally nothing, any reason whatsoever you pressed A on that screen. That means nothing. That means nothing. That means nothing, dude. That means absolutely nothing. Yes, it does. So you don't need training wheels on a bike to ride a bike, so somebody else doesn't either, right? Because everybody else, just because a handful of people don't need training wheels doesn't mean that means nobody needs them, because you don't need them, right? So saying it doesn't need to be explained, you don't get to dictate for somebody what somebody needs for instructions. Show me, when you can show me the sentence, press A, when you can show me where it means means to press that, then I'll listen to what you're saying. But other than that, you're talking out your ass. You're using an opinion to try to override fact. Show me, you guys have not shown me where the game actually has a text message to say, press A to open your backpack, to actually back up your argument. In order for you guys to back up your argument, you need to show me where the game actually says you must press A to open your backpack. Without that, it doesn't matter what you're saying, because I can say a button on the screen does not mean click it any more than you can sit and say it does. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter what you chose to do. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't say it, so I didn't click it. You're not told to press it. You're not told to press it. You're not told to press it anywhere. Nowhere in this game are you told to press that. You chose to press it. That's not a valid counter-argument. Your opinion about what to do doesn't matter. This is about what it actually says to do in basic English. You're using your own opinion as an example to try to counter this argument. The fact of the matter is, nowhere are you told to press that. Nowhere does it actually state to press it. That's where your argument falls apart. Doesn't matter. Example, again, that is not a valid argument. Show me where the game says to press this. I don't care about your opinion, and I don't care if a million other people did it. The point is, you cannot state A means to press it just because you did it. Unless you have a statement in the game, in text, that says, press A, your argument is invalid. I'm sorry you don't like that, but the fact of the matter is you can't counter my arguments. I have a valid point that you cannot get around. You are taking your opinion and trying to say it's a fact. The only way you can say A opens your backpack is if there is a message from the developer in the game itself, because I don't care what you're saying. You're a player, you're not the developer of the game. And even if the developer of the game was here, I would tell them the same thing. They are wrong, because it doesn't matter what is written. It doesn't matter if these buttons are on the screen. So what? That does not mean press them. Show me where it actually has the text sentence. Press A, the word. I'm going to type it into chat. When you can show me the GAT text message in the game. No. I don't need a guide. See, here's the thing. First of all, don't take what I'm saying and twist it out of context. I'm simply pointing out that not everybody plays the same way. Not everybody... No, don't tell him to shut the fuck up. He has a right to say what he's saying, because... Now, this is going to sound weird. What he's saying is correct, but it's only correct for the type of person who plays like that. That's the point. Not everybody plays the way they will do this. Therefore, not everybody is going to press A on the screen just because the button shows it. The fact of the matter is, if the game is, if you want somebody to press A to open their backpack, and you want everybody to do it, you have to have the sentence on there, press A. Having a button on the screen is not the same thing as saying press A. It's not. You can argue that point all you want, and your mind unwraps it. Your mind can't wrap your head around that, and that's why I write instructions for people and you don't. And that's not no offense. You just don't know how to do it. You would literally just basically tell somebody, well, if you don't know that means that, that's too bad for you, and that's your opinion. But the fact of the matter is, the game is not explained. To you, it's explained. And to a bunch of people, how they do that, it's explained. That does not make the game explained just because you guys understand it. You're exempting the other half of the people who don't think like you. And there you go again. So now what you have is, you're trying to say an instruction like that is babying. You know what? Doesn't matter. Your opinion about what the instruction is doesn't matter. It's not a valid point. You can think that, and you can have that opinion, but you are trying to say everybody must learn like you. They shouldn't have anything written because you understand it. And here's the thing. I don't really give a rat's ass what you chose to do. Everything you're saying is a choice you chose, and not the game telling you to do it. That's the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying. Your opinion doesn't matter here. All you're doing is using an opinion. You're still trying to avoid the fact that the game is not explained because you're so wrapped up in your own opinion that that's what that means. You're actually totally ignoring what I'm saying. In order for this to be explained, every single person must be able to do it. The only way to get every single person to be able to do it is to have every type of instruction there is on the screen. Not just visual, but written as well. That's good for you. That's how you learn. What the hell does that have to do with what we're talking about? Your opinion, which you have a right to have, does not belong in this because I'm not talking about opinions. I'm talking about straight up facts. The fact is there's no text instruction on the screen that says press A to open the backpack. The fact is, without that instruction, everybody who gets into this is not going to press it. Some of the people will, some of them won't. The fact of the matter is, if you're going to say it does not need to be explained, you're basically saying, the hell with everybody else, then they shouldn't be playing the game, which is not up to you to be doing. Maybe if the thing was explained, they would play. But when you have crap like this in a game, and then you have people like you justifying this crap, it becomes a problem. The thing with me is, I don't let people talk me in circles, and I won't let them use their opinion to override a fact. And everything I'm saying is a fact, because if you go look up the word explained, you will find it applies to everybody, not just people such as yourself, how you learn. It doesn't matter. Again, this comes back to, is it written on the screen or it's not? If it's not written on the screen to do it, not everybody's going to do it. That's the only point here. You're babbling on and adding stuff into this has no relevance to drag this out. You have to accept the fact that it's not explained. I don't care if you chose to do it. You're talking about what somebody decided to do on their own over what the game is actually telling you to do.
I am ready to mess this shit up.
Doesn't matter how many votes you can do. You can't take after-the-fact information and apply it to this. See, the other part of the problem is that Example is already played the game, so they have after-the-fact information. So he or she is using information that they already know. But the reality on it is, the information that they're saying, they wouldn't have known here because that information doesn't exist. Give me a minute. I gotta get this call.
Don't hold back! What is up with you? It's over right now. Stop hiding. Hey, aim for the gun. There it is. Need more ammo. It's over with. It's a clear shot. Come on, we could do better. Careful, guys. Don't hold lost? Careful, guys.
Well, example, that doesn't matter. That's your opinion. So what you're saying is people that have never played a game should never be able to pick a game up and play it. You just literally said nobody that's ever played a game would ever be able to pick up a game and play it. So that doesn't make any sense. So in that regard, you even shouldn't even be playing games, because the only way to play a game is to play a game. But according to you, you can't play a game without playing a game. That literally just made no sense, dude. What's not made for what? Well, if that's what you're getting out of this, then you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you shouldn't be involved in this conversation, because you're taking what I'm saying and then taking it out of context, because I nowhere what I'm talking about and what you just said are not even close to the same thing. They're not even close to the same thing. Because you're taking me saying game basics should be explained and then applying that to the entire game, saying I said everything needs to be explained. It's not what I said at all. And that's not even close to what it means either. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to call me trash, you have to blame the game developer for not explaining how the game works. So, of course, somebody that picks this up that doesn't know how to play it is going to be trash. What's your point? That's like saying, somebody who doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle, you know, that is trash because they don't know how to ride a motorcycle. Of course they don't know how to ride it. They don't know how to ride it. It's like circular logic with you people. You're basically stating, you're making these stupid comments that don't have anything to do with anything, and then basically contradicting yourself when you say it. All right. Well, here's an example. I'm gonna go back into the. I'm gonna go back into something here, and I'm gonna show you guys something. Okay. And you guys can piss and moan about this all you want, or anything else.
I look at what you've done here, and I say to myself, we are alive, we continue, we persist.
So this right here is gonna.
I do have a thing for you back
This right here is exactly why
what
what example is saying doesn't matter. So for the rest of you tuning in, this is exactly why example's comments have no relevance to this. Okay? This is a mission, right?
How much the JTF can do?
This is a mission. Oh, sorry. It's a turn in. I got to turn this in. I'm going to go to the safe house that it says to go to, and I'm going to attempt to turn this in. Now, am I inside the safe house? I'm going to ask this question. Am I inside the safe house? Yes, I am. This is why what you're saying has no relevance. Can I talk to this guy? No. Is the mission to turn this in behind the guy on the floor? Yes. Can I get behind this desk? No. I can't turn the mission in. You know why I can't turn the mission in? Because there's no friggin' explanation on how to turn the mission in. You saying common sense doesn't work, because that is common sense. Don't even try to get into it's on another floor or anything else. Not relevant. So the fact is, this right here proves why it's not relevant if something is on the screen. It still requires a detailed explanation on how to frick to turn these things in. Because as it stands now, since you can't talk to this guy, and you can't get behind the desk, it requires an explanation to not only why I can't turn it in, but what is preventing me from turning it in, or how to actually turn it in. So you saying it's common sense is totally not even a valid counterpoint. And saying it doesn't need to be explained is bullshit, because I cannot turn this in despite it telling me I can, despite I've used all the baseline principles on turning something in. So you saying something doesn't need to be explained is a crock of shit, because it needs to be explained. If they explained how to freaking turn these quests in, I would be able to turn it in. The fact that I can't turn it in isn't on me. That's on the damn game developer. You gotta call me dumb and I'm stupid because I can't turn this in? Are you serious? I literally just did everything to turn a quest in and I still can't turn it in, and there's no explanation on how to actually turn it in. So every one of your arguments are just been null and void, made null and void by that simple thing. No, it's not. Really? What other guy? There is no other guy here. There's no other guy here. I am 1 meter from it. There is nobody else that this goes to. So, the fact of the matter is, the missions haven't even been explained. And trying to say it doesn't need to be explained is the equivalency of saying it's... Oh, there's an A button on the screen. There's an icon where to turn this in right on the screen. It's the same concept, dude. So I just canceled out every single one of the arguments about, well, you know, it's common sense or it's obvious. Haven't you played other games? None of this stuff mattered. I've played tons of other games. What the hell does that have to do with the fact that I can't turn this in? And I can't turn it in because I don't know how to turn it in, because the damn game never went over how to turn missions in this game. Whether or not you know how to turn missions in one game has no relevance to another game. Every game has its own way of doing things. There is no other guy. Alright, so you're saying that there's a second guy here that you see somewhere on the screen, or you had a special copy of the game that has a guy sitting at this desk. This guy in front of you, in this mission, is right here. It's not in another section of the building. It's not underneath me. It's not above me. There isn't any other person here. It's right here. Now, if it is not right here, then the icon is not in the correct place either, because the icon should not be in a place where you don't turn it in. So, as I said, example, what you're talking about has no relevance and no validity here, because the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether you play any other games. The missions for turning in missions in this game has no explanation. And I can't go to it in the same fashion. It doesn't fucking matter if you pressed A on the screen. You can't get to this to turn it in. It's broken. Period. So, if there is a way to do it, it needs to be explained to the player so this shit doesn't happen. So the fact of the matter is, I think now you just realized that you are absolutely ridiculous for even posting half of the comments you posted, because I just literally proved it does need to be explained. Well, Dirty Kitty, if I have to go to a guy that had turned that in, then the game needs to tell me exactly where that guy is. Period. Where I was where you turn it in. If it's not, then why is the icon there? Either way, doesn't matter what you're saying. No, because I'm not, here's the thing. I'm not going to the other table. That's not where the icon is. The icon is at the table I was at. Now here's the other thing. I went in front of that guy, I walked around the table and everything else. The fact that the icon is there means that's where I turn the quest in. So you saying go to another table doesn't even make any sense. And if if what you're saying is correct, the icon would be over where you are. Example, you can't turn the quest in. I just proved it's impossible to turn that quest in because there's no explanation on how to turn it in, and there's no reason why at all. There's not even an explanation. Show me an explanation on what I have to do to turn that in. It just says go there. I went there and I went to the exact place it was at, and you can't turn it in. There's nothing to figure out. You're acting like there's some math problem here. The fact of the matter is, it requires an explanation in order to turn it in, period. I don't care what you did. There's no explanation to turn it in, and therefore it cannot be turned in unless you know how to turn it in, which is not possible because it hasn't been explained. The game developers, if I'm supposed to turn that quest in, the game developers need to start putting the icons in the right spot. I told you I was on the PC. I'm using a wired 360 controller on the PC. So, example, you can dance around the subject all you want. The fact of the matter is, I cannot turn that quest in because I went to the safe house that I'm supposed to be going to. I went to the exact location in the safe house where the icon is, and you can't get behind it. Now, to further bring this up, every single thing you turn in this game, every single checkpoint, everything you do, you walk into the icon. Period. So that tells you I should be able to get over the table, but I can't. The only way for me to turn that in is to walk into the icon, because that's what you do in every single point of this game. It's an automatic turn-in. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You just either walk over these icons, or you just walk near them, or you get in the vicinity of what it is. So the fact of the matter is, that is the mechanic that the game has told you all along. Now you're telling me that's not the mechanic, and that there's something else you need to do, without the game telling you all the steps required. So you basically can't even make up your own mind about the mechanics in the game. And that's partly exposes how bad the game is. If the mechanics for turning things in up to this point so far was to walk over them, then why can't I walk over that one? I can't get over the table to walk over it, which means something is wrong. No, that's not what I said. How to turn this mission in, turning missions in this game require a detailed breakdown explanation on how to turn them in. Once you explain how to turn one in, you know how to turn them all in. So, as case in point, what you were trying to say earlier, a game can't explain that? Yes, it can. You go over the base principle for turning one in, and then you say, here's how to turn these in. You use this principle to turn them all in. It's not that fucking hard. But, the game can't even explain to you how to turn missions in, so it's a bad example. So yes, I am requiring that because the baseline for turning them in doesn't work. Alright, I'm going to go to the other table. Ready? I'm going to go to the other table.
Readings indicate this area is safe.
I'm going to humor you and go to the other table.
Yo, check this
First
out.
table. Second table. See the line right there? There are two tables here. One here. One here. This is one table. From this point here is the other. I just went to the other table. So, the fact of the matter is, example, as I said, one baseline is needed for how to do this, which explains the baseline for the rest of them. And the fact of the matter is, even if there was something different, I have nothing to work off of. There's literally no explanation in reason whatsoever that I can't turn this in. If they're gonna put this icon on the floor, they need to allow me to walk over the table and step on that icon, just like they've turned in every other quest and mission in this entire game up to this point. I've walked over check marks, I've immediately walked in the vicinity and it triggered it off. So the fact that this one is not triggering it off means it's either A, broken, or B, there's some super secretive way to turn this in that the game never decided to go over. So either way, this is broken. It's impossible to turn this quest in with the information given in the game. Can't be done. Because if it was, then I only know one of two things. Walk in the vicinity or walk into the checkpoint itself. Now, I want to be clear about something. Everything you put here isn't relevant. Everything I just talked about is the only thing that matters. So the fact of the matter is, I'm sitting here used to turning everything in by walking over to going into the vicinity, and yet now I come into this, which is something totally screwed up. It shows you that the game mechanics are inconsistent and make the game unplayable because there's no explanation on how to actually turn this damn quest in.
Warning. We're exiting the safe area.
The point is, whether it's broken or not doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be broken to this extent. That is absolutely ludicrous and stupid and inexcusable to have the baseline of how to turn everything in one way, and then when you go to this one thing, it doesn't trigger, and then there's no explanation on why. Any person that actually thinks that this is okay and said, well, I figured it out, needs their head examined, because you're actually going against the entire base principle of everything you've been shown in the game up to this point. Right, but here's the thing. I can actually state, why would I want to? Why am I going to go to another quest if I can't even turn these in? Did you ever think of that? Or are you still stuck in the one-track mind thinking? If I can't turn this one in, I've now been told that these quests are broken. So doing any more is useless. I'm not going to go through and wind up in another quest that cannot be turned in. I'm going to stop doing them now. That's the point. Because everything that I've just been done for turning quests in have now been destroyed because the game has done one thing that's not correct. You cannot have a system and then out of nowhere stop the system. And then try to say somebody's dumb for not doing that. You can't do that.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let me clarify something really. Let me clarify something quick. Let me clarify a sentence that I said. When I say the game is unplayable, clearly that's not true. So that was ridiculous of me to state that. However, I can say it's unplayable with the information in the game. If you use only the information in this game, you cannot play this game. It's missing too many basics. It doesn't go over simple things that it should be going over that allow you a learning curve that allow you to get around this shit. For example, turning in quests is a fucking problem. If you can't turn in a quest, then there's no or a mission, there's no reason for you to even be doing them. There's no reason for them to be doing things a certain way with missions that you turn them in and all of a sudden change it with one thing. That doesn't make any sense. Now, I can chalk this up to a bad glitch because that stuff happens. So as far as I'm concerned, okay, maybe the checkpoint spawned where it shouldn't have spawned. I can go do that with another quest line. However, taking that into consideration, I can do a simple test with this on this end by simply going to a secondary quest that's of the same nature. So return to the Turtle Bay safe house. I haven't been in here yet, but I will guarantee you almost 100% when I go to this point and go into there, I will not be able to actually change. I will run into the same exact problem I just did here because all these return to these safe houses have the same exact problem with them. The checkpoint is out of reach. You can't get to it. And I will prove that right now.
Your metaphorical
So,
cleanup of this area leads to eventual relief for allergy sufferers like myself. I've got something back here for you. It's still clean.
Okay, so now each one of them are telling me they have something for me, and yet every time I go there, I can't access what it's telling me. So all of these return to wherever these safe houses are totally broken. You cannot turn them in because the same situation happens. Every time you go to them, you're in an area where you can't turn it in because where you have to turn it in, you can't access. So, the fact of the matter is, I just did that on the Return to the Times Square safe house. Now I'm going to go to this one. Okay?
Agent, you've done outstanding work here. I can only hope your metaphorical cleanup of this area leads to eventual relief for allergy sufferers like myself.
I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to show you that I haven't been here yet. I am going to guarantee you that this one has to be turned in the same way the other one is turned into, where the check mark is not only out of reach, but there's no way to get to it.
For now.
Guarantee it.
Best deals this side of the dark zone.
It's right there. I'm 1 meter from it. I can't get over the table or I can't access it. This is, again, a broken quest. You can't turn it in. So now, what I'm going to wind up doing then is you can't generate a bug report because somebody's going to say it's not bugged. I just proved it's broken. There's no way for you to turn these in under the game circumstances because the game has not told you how to turn these in. So a prime example of what I was saying, is that your opinions about how to do stuff don't matter. The game is required for you to explain it because every time I get going in this game, I get stalled by something like this. Every single time. The fact that I have to go for a certain amount of time and then get totally stalled by this is ludicrous. Show me, explain to me how to turn these, clearly these quests have some super secretive method to turning them in that has never been revealed. So, until that method has been revealed, they cannot be turned in. It's impossible to complete these.
Hey, you can't beat these prices.
It is required for the game developer to tell you how they turn this in, or you will never be able to do it. There is no information in the game on how to do this, thus making it, these quests are impossible to turn in. They're impossible. Because you have to be told how to get to the access point to be able to turn them in. Whether that means standing on the thing or obviously getting close enough to it doesn't matter. I was literally a meter from it. I could be a meter from one of the other quest lines near it or whatever it is and still trigger it. So the fact is that this is a problem. Any player who thinks that this is perfectly fine needs to have their head examined. Like, seriously. Oh, I got the game free, dude. I got it free when it first came out. I've had this game since its release.
Nice, easy move.
So, I mean, like I said, now the point is, that you realize that the game is not put together at all in any way, shape, or form, and that looking at stuff on the screen doesn't matter. While I agree with you to some extent in that regard, so, the question I now have is, who taught you guys how to play the game? Somebody had to tell you. So, my point here is that, and this is why I'm not, just so you know, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just taking up a contrary position because this is what my channel does. It doesn't matter how many people like the game. The fact of the matter is, it's broken, period. And in this game, whether people agree with it or not, doesn't matter. It still requires to be explained because you're dealing with a game that has so many mechanics that you can't not explain them. Are you also on console? Or are you on the PC? There's a reason why I'm asking this question.
Quarantine protocol is in effect. Please do not cough on or make physical contact with others while waiting.
Hey, I got what you need.
You are now entering a safe area. Warning. You are now leaving the safe area.
Really? And how do you know about that? See, that's something the game would have to tell you. You're not gonna know that by accident.
There's a lot of heavily armed assholes around here.
The other reason I'm saying that is because you should, where you get the quest from is where you have to turn it in. So if you don't get the quest from the board, then you can't turn it into the board.
You holding it together?
Nope. Well, no, when something doesn't work, that means it's broken.
Take care.
I always expect a rat to jump out.
So you're saying I should stand at the table and just do this? Well, I did that. That doesn't solve the problem.
All units be advised, Rikers are using the park near West 52nd as a stronghold. Use caution in the area.
Get off our turf!
We're bored out here.
Come on! There you go!
Yo, check this out.
Yeah, I'll get in a minute. I'm coming off there in a second. I gotta get off to cook dinner in a few minutes. Just waiting for my wife to get home. Yep. That's what's down there, right? Yeah. So anyway, one of the other reasons I can't stand this game is because after you fail a mission, you have to run all the way back to where you were. No, that's crap. Yep. Is it? Alright.
Jesus, what are you doing?
Oh, I would turn it in once the game explains to me how to turn it in. I don't listen to players when it comes to this. If the game developers can't tell me how to turn it in, then it's clearly not important. That's what you're failing to understand. I don't care what a player decides to do because the player doesn't have the information to do that. So me not listening to a player has nothing to do with being rude. It has to do with I don't really care what you're saying because what you're saying doesn't matter to me. You didn't get that information from in the game. So therefore, it doesn't matter what it is. So I'm using only the information in the game to play this game. So other players saying what to do doesn't really make a difference to me. You can say what to do all you want. It's not going to matter. So, when you can show me where the game developers go in detail on how to turn that thing in, I'll turn it in. But until then, it's going to sit there. I was playing this game for almost 13 hours straight, and I had a viewer ask me why I was still using a pistol. That's not. I'm not even going to address that. Beyond me addressing this now, I'm not even going to address that because it's like you asked the question, I answered it. I'm not going to get into these sidetrack questions. The bottom line is the game developers didn't explain how to turn it in, so it's not really relevant. And until they do, it doesn't matter. If I am going to turn this in, then it needs to tell me I'm going to turn it in. It's inexcusable for the game developers not to explain to me how to turn that in. A player shouldn't have to tell me that, and I'm not going to listen to a player turning it in just because they did it. Because you turning it in doesn't matter. You would have no way to know what you're saying at the point I'm at because there's no information there to get. So the information you're using to say to turn the game in doesn't exist. You made that up. And this is about what the game says, not what a player chooses to do. This is why a lot of people don't like my videos. It's because, well, you just told you how to do it. I don't care what you told to do. Did the game explain it? No. So where the hell did you even get that information? It doesn't matter whether the person's right. This isn't about whether somebody's right. This is about the game didn't explain it, so what you're saying doesn't matter. Right or wrong has nothing to do with this. This is, did the game explain it? So it's just gamers need to stop taking opinions and what they choose to do and then trying to utilize that to say that the game is explained. That's something I don't allow. I will literally talk you in circles when it comes to that. So, like I said, if you're going to bring it up, I have no issues with that. But I'm just going to keep pointing back to the fact that I'm going to ask you where you got that information. Where in the game. Not out of your head, not out of what another player did, not out of a million players doing it. Unless the game itself tells you how to do this, it's not going to matter what you say, or a million people do, or a million people say. The question isn't what your opinion is. I didn't ask you, hey, give me your opinion on how to do this. I asked you, give me the instructions in the game where the game developer told you that in order for you to say that information at the point we're talking about. So everybody likes to say the game's explained, but yet when I call them out on it, they can't seem to provide where that explanation is. It constantly amazes me how people can't say a simple thing. That's not an explanation. That's an opinion. That's not what I'm asking. If you're going to say to do something in the game, such as turn a quest in. Now, when you're talking about what gun to use in a certain area or what to do, that's completely different because that comes with playing. The only way you could know that is to play it. That I don't have an issue with. I have an issue with this because I'm not going to sit here and have you tell me what to do when you have no possible way to know that information other than just doing it yourself, which is your opinion, and you have a right to do that. But I'm not going to take your opinion as an answer to showing me where the game developer said it when you can't do that. That's the whole point. That's my thing. So this is what I do with people who watch my streams. Go back and watch them. Every single thing that anybody said to do in the chat, I says, I don't care what you're saying. And I say the same thing to everybody. It's nothing personal. But my point is that if I'm talking about this isn't explained, don't go saying something is and then never be able to produce where that information exists. Don't, out of your head it doesn't matter. It's not a valid, because that's not in the game. So again, what people choose to do and what is actually explained are two completely different things that don't have anything to do with each other. And yet, gamers will say, well, it's curiosity. or I did it, or what they chose to do, or what a bunch of people did, and then try to say, well, the game says to do it. No. They're totally different things. So, case in point, you know, there's no reason for this to be on the ground, because the game developers can't even tell you what these are for. Great, you pick them up and you listen to them. That doesn't tell you what it's for. At least when the very first time you pick one of these up, you say, hey, these are scattered throughout the game. This is what, collect them all, and this is what you get. This doesn't even tell you if there's a reward at the end of it.
Hey man, think you could come here real quick? I got shit to do. What do you need? Hey, so this guy was in my bedroom going through my stuff, right? Hit him in the back.
Dispatch to patrol. Rikers have a squad pinned down in an alley off of West 53rd. They need backup.
So the point here is curiosity is not Nope. You know why? Because it says my inventory's full, so what the hell are you going to open it for? So, no, I didn't. You know what that led me into? Trying to get an answer to why my inventory wasn't full, or whatever it was, when I was trying to open up a restock box and it said, I'm full, when I clearly wasn't. I was missing grenades and I was missing health packs. But yet the restock box I wouldn't open said I was full. Good. Just be aware that if I find any information that's incorrect in there, I'm going to make a video off of that and I'm going to expose you. I'm going to expose your channel. I'm going to expose everything on you, or your game accounts and all your information. So just be aware that if you're going to post a video, you better post all the information and better do it right. Otherwise, I'm going to wind up attacking you with it. So just be aware of that. So the thing here is that you can make a video all you want, but just be prepared that I'm really not the person to be doing this with if you stop messing with me. Ask anybody on Steam. You might want to go watch my videos on here on what I actually do to somebody that actually screws with me and does something on purpose just to try to, you know, screw with me. I mean, you can do whatever you wish. That's on you. But be prepared that I actually apply consequences to people's actions. So, if I didn't really want anything done, I wouldn't even be making videos or streaming them in the first place. And you wouldn't be the first person to make a video about me. I've had it done plenty of times. There isn't anything that you're going to do or say that I haven't encountered already. So just be aware of that is all. Okay?
Without you, we'd have been dead. Hopefully that'll make them think twice about hitting the next JTF patrol they see.
Warning. Hostile forces approaching.
That one was too close.
Okay? You're right. But that's, just remember that when you're streaming, if you have something on your stream that says no backseat, no spoilers, and somebody comes in there and spoils it for you, that same thing applies. As soon as you expose yourself to a stream, you can't be telling people what they can and can't do. Oh, you're right. You absolutely can do anything you want with it. But the fact of the matter is, people like you seem to fail to understand that nobody's stopping you from doing anything. There are consequences for your actions, though, so just be aware of that. That's all. There's nothing really major about it.
Warning. Hostile forces approaching.
Where you came from?
Warning. Hostile forces approaching.
Hey, get him out of that cover!
Can't even fight. He's there.
Thank you. Knew we could count on you.
And so just remember, example, if you're going to do that, then you better not be having on your stream that somebody's not supposed to be putting spoils in your stream, and if they do, you throw them out of the stream. You'd be a total hypocrite for doing that.
Take him from the empty pig down! Blast him out of that cover! To the other side! You can't get me! Shoot! Blast him Hey, that bitch! Stop hiding! You lost? Don't waste no more time! Careful, guys! Lose your plug! Get the fuck out of here! It's over right now! He's dead, man! Dead! Now's our chance! This guy! One more shot and he's dead! Get him out of that cover!
Well, here's the thing. Most likely, a game that is not explained in the first one will probably be either the same as the first one or less explained because there's a first one. Case in point, Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. Now, at the same time, that's the most likely scenario, but also, until you actually play the game itself, there'd be no way to actually make that determination. Because, in a few minutes I have to actually end this stream, so I'm just going to answer this and I'm going to end it. But the thing that comes down to it is, when the people that play the second one are going to say there's nothing wrong with it and it's fully explained. They're going to say that because they're saying that about this game. And since the mechanics on this game they're already used to doing, they're going to have no problems with the mechanics on the second game, or they're going to go ahead and do whatever that they feel like it or whatever else it is. But the issue here is that doesn't mean the game's explained. What it comes down to is, well, hold on a second, let me read what example says. No, I didn't. That's not what I said at all. I don't even know where the hell you came up with that. I don't know how you took what I said and then combined it with that. So this is one of the main reasons I don't go on forums. It's because, example, no offense, you're an idiot when you can't have any basic grammar comprehension. You're taking things that I never said, saying I said them, and then applying them to things that's not even close to what I said. What I said was, to clarify this, and you're probably trolling, but whatever. What I said to clarify was, somebody that picks this game up cannot play it with the instructions on the screen. That is what I said. Somehow, you now are saying and applying what I'm doing to that, and then saying there's no way you could have done that. And that's not, I don't even know how you even got those mashed together. You're not even talking, they're two completely separate things. Alright. Instead of asking me what the problem is, go back and watch every video I've done on this. And then come back and try to tell me what I went over in the video is explained. And I'm not asking you to give your opinion on whether it needs to be or not. I'm talking about it's either explained in the game or it's not.
You looking for anything?
So someone with just the information in this game cannot play it according to only the information given in the game. First of all, the instructions, the tooltips are not instructions. Secondly, the tooltips that pop up aren't even telling you to do anything at all. They're saying if these circumstances apply to do it. And then on top of that, it's like somehow people read things, people make things up and then say the game says them, and that's not even true. And this game's a prime example. I can guarantee you, I can ask pretty much anybody that's in this stream that has not been in the stream yet, what's a sidearm? What is the game? What is the sidearm in this game? I guarantee you, I know what people are going to say. This is my point that I'm going to prove with this.
Hey,
Harold, don't you answer this, but I want to see if Example can answer this. In this game, I'm not asking what your opinion is or what you think. In this game, what does it tell you your sidearm is? I'm waiting to see what the answer is in the chat. I'm curious about what Example thinks the sidearm. Well, what he's going to say about what the game, when this game the sidearm. What does the game say the sidearm is in this game? Sorry, that was messed up. In this game, what is your sidearm? That's what I want to know. What weapon does the game tell you your sidearm is? That's what I question.
Hey, I got what you need.
Also, here's another question for you. Now, again, these are questions for Example. By the way, if you, those of you tuning in, Example is somebody actually named, that's the name of somebody in my stream chat. So when I say Example, I have to clarify whether I'm talking about give me an example or I'm directing this questions at him or her. So I have two questions for the user Example member or person in my stream. First question is, what weapon does the game tell you your sidearm is? And secondly, what does the game tell you that 13 in the upper corner right corner means? I'm curious about these answers. Because I'm going to use these answers to prove a point. I don't even know if they're still even in my... I don't even know if they're still in my stream. No, they're still in my stream.
You looking for anything?
In a few minutes, I gotta get going. But I'll just end this right now because you're probably gonna say the game says the sidearm is your pistol and that the game says that 13 in the upper right corner is your level. Nowhere does the game even tell you your sidearm is your pistol. Doesn't even actually say that anywhere. It just says to swap between your sidearm. Never actually states what weapon your sidearm is. Hence the question, what weapon does the game tell you that it is? And secondly, nowhere does the game tell you what that 13 is. Oh no, I'll be on a little later, but I'm going to be on later tonight, and I'll be doing something else. This is mainly a test to see if I could actually, because I got my internet speed upgraded, so I'm using games that have like a very graphical nature to them, or like there's such a cluster commotion on the screen to try to see what's going on. And because I'm making a video about settings on live streams for what is good and everything else, because I've been reading through forums and stuff like that, and there's a lot of crap that people are not answering, and it's very bizarre. So when you see that video, it'll be interesting. But I'll be on a little later tonight. I just have to go cook dinner and stuff like that. So anyway, case in point, somebody asked me this earlier. It says it's fully stocked. So why would you even attempt to open that? Can I click? Can I
See what you've been missing.
click on your name? What do you mean? Can I click on your name? Click on your name of what? You mean in the chat? I don't know what you mean. But anyway, back to what I was saying real fast before I end the stream. People make things up and say the games, and games say them. And they don't just do it with this game. They do it in tons of games. And it's almost like, and I'm not saying this to offend anybody, but the fact of the matter is game developers write games and do things in games for people who don't know how to follow instructions, who can't follow instructions, and don't know how to read. That's a base fact. It's not anything to the players. That's how game developers do things. People that know how to read and follow instructions can't play games because the games have no instructions for a player to follow. So somebody following just what's in the game and on screen for the game won't be able to play it because the instructions don't exist. And the second thing here is what I'm talking about, like people saying games they don't know how to read, is basically the same exact thing. They make things up and then they say the game says them when the game never does that. Case in point, people have said the game in pretty much a lot of the other streams I had, people say that the game tells you to shoot with a submachine gun. They say submachine gun. They use that phrase. Or they say MP5. Nowhere does the game actually even tell you to shoot with a gun. When it's talking about swapping weapons, I should say. It literally just says to swap between your primary and your sidearm, how to do it. It never says to do it, and it never says there's any specified weapons that you're doing it with. Somehow, people got it in their head that the game actually says the sidearm is your pistol, which it doesn't state, and it also says swap between something. Furthermore, the instructions at the beginning of this game are out of whack, because one instruction tells you just to go by something duck behind something nearby to have cover, and why you take cover, but it never disappears off the screen because it wants you to go to a very specific cover. And then Yet when it tells you to shoot, it doesn't tell you where to shoot. It just tells you to shoot, never saying what gun to shoot it with or anything else. Gives you a gun, and somehow people now said, well, it told you you had 2 guns at the beginning of the game. No, it actually didn't. They're taking the instructions on swapping guns with saying that means you have 2 guns, and it's not even the same thing. All it says is when you have 2 weapons, or if you have multiple weapons. It's a what-if thing. It's not a do it. So, again, people are making things up in their head and then saying the game says them when they never do. Even after going back and showing it, people still argued. It was like, now you're trolling. So anyway, I'm going to end this now. I got to go eat and talk to you guys later. I'll be on a little later with some other random game or something like that. Maybe this one. I don't know. Take care, guys.